When the Council killed a human girl, Earth didn't just retaliate, it erased them, reaches its devastating climax as humanity reveals its hidden power. Communication systems across Council space simultaneously fail. Thousands of mysterious human ships materialize from nowhere. Through secretly implanted neural tech, they execute Commander Vex and other leaders remotely. A single shot obliterates the supposedly indestructible Council. Tower 12,000 cycles of galactic authority demolished in less than a day. I remember the day everything changed. Not just for me, not just for humanity, but for every sentient species across our vast galaxy. My name is Vox Thule, former record keeper of the Galactic Council, and this is my testimony of how a single act of cruelty against a human child led to the fall of the most powerful interstellar government in known history. They say history is written by the victors, but as someone who has dedicated his life to preserving the objective truth, I believe history should be written from all perspectives, even the losing ones, especially the losing ones. It has been 5 Earth years since the conflict we now call the Retribution War. 5 years since the Council ceased to exist. 5 years since humanity revealed itself to be something far different and far more terrifying than what any of us had imagined. I write this account not to justify what happened, nor to condemn it, but simply to ensure that the truth, in all its complexity, survives. The humans have a saying: those who cannot remember the past are condemned to repeat it. I hope we remember. I hope we learn. I hope we never again make the mistake that cost us everything. Because if there's one lesson the galaxy has learned, it is this: never harm a human child. Ever. The Galactic Council had stood for over 12,000 cycles, an unbroken chain of government that had united thousands of worlds across hundreds of star systems. We prided ourselves on our stability, our technological advancement, our cultural refinement. In truth, we had become stagnant, arrogant, complacent. Humans had only been part of the Council for 30 cycles. They were the newcomers, the upstarts, the curious and sometimes alarmingly adaptable species that had somehow managed to develop faster than light travel independently. That alone should have been our first warning, but we were too confident in our superiority to notice. I was stationed on the Central Archives on the Council's capital world when we received the first reports about Terra Nova, the human research station orbiting Proxima Centauri. My position as a record keeper was prestigious, but largely ceremonial. We cataloged the Council's actions, preserved its decisions, maintained the appearance of transparency, while actually serving as the most sophisticated censorship operation in galactic history. It was my job to know things and then pretend I didn't. The first alert came through on a secure channel, a minor security breach. It said, a human child had accessed restricted frequencies. Nothing to be concerned about. The second alert came only hours later. This one wasn't so minor. The human child had apparently discovered something in those frequencies, something the Council had been hiding for millennia. I remember looking at her file. Era Cooper, 16 Earth years old, daughter of 2 prominent xenolinguists working at Terra Nova, gifted in mathematics and signal processing. And now, potentially, a threat to galactic security. I should have done something then, sent a warning, but I didn't. I followed protocol. I recorded the incident and forwarded it to Security Chief Draknar with the standard notation. Then, breaking every rule I had sworn to uphold, I opened the message the girl had sent me directly. Mr. Thule, it read. I found something in the background radiation that doesn't make sense. It's artificial, embedded in what everyone thinks is just cosmic noise. I tried to tell my parents, but they didn't believe me. I need help decoding it. The patterns suggest a language structure, but it's unlike anything in the Council databases I can access. Please help me understand what I found. Attached was a data packet containing her findings. I didn't open it. I knew better than that. But I did something equally damning. I hesitated. For 16 minutes. I sat staring at that message, wondering what I should do. Those 16 minutes cost Ara Cooper her life. Security protocols had already flagged her message to me. By the time I decided to delete it without responding, an emergency meeting of the High Council had been convened. I wasn't invited. Of course. Record keepers only received the sanitized minutes afterward. But I knew something was wrong when I received orders to purge all records of Ara Cooper from the central database. Not just flag them as classified, delete them entirely. The Council had made a decision that would doom them all. Ara Cooper was in her private laboratory on Terranova Station when they came for her. She'd been granted the space as part of her advanced educational program. Humans placed great emphasis on encouraging their gifted youth, something many Council species found wasteful and indulgent. I've seen the security footage countless times since then. It's become one of the most viewed recordings in human history, the spark that ignited a fire that would consume the Council. She was working at her station, a tangle of dark curls falling across her face as she manipulated the holographic display. The door slid open, and she turned, startled but not alarmed. 4 Council security officers entered, led by Commander Vex, a Palaxian known for his efficiency and complete lack of moral flexibility. Ara Cooper, Vex's translator, produced the flat, emotionless tone typical of Council security. Yes, she stood, brushing her hair back. Can I help you? You have accessed restricted Council frequencies without authorization. You have attempted to decode classified information. You have violated Statute 1342B of the Council Security Act. She frowned, confusion evident in her expression. I was just studying the background radiation patterns. There's nothing classified about cosmic background radiation. You have shared your findings with unauthorized individuals? I only sent it to a Council record keeper. That's hardly unauthorized. Vex's facial plates shifted in what those familiar with Palaxian expressions would recognize as contempt. The information you have discovered is classified level 9. Your access to it was unauthorized. Your distribution of it was unauthorized. The girl's posture changed then. She straightened, crossing her arms. In that moment, she looked older than her 16 years. So there is something hidden in the radiation patterns. I was right. One of the other officers moved forward, reaching for her terminal. Hey, that's my personal equipment. She stepped between the officer and her workstation. You can't just... The video shows what happened next with terrible clarity. Vex raised his weapon, not a stun baton, which would have been protocol for a minor, but a Class 3 disruptor pistol. Ara's eyes widened in shock. Step aside, Vex ordered. Not until you explain what's going on, she countered. What am I supposed to have found that's so dangerous? I have rights under the Council Charter. Article 17, guaranteeing... The flash was brief. The disruptor beam caught her mid-sentence, directly in the center of her chest. The characteristic blue energy rippled across her body for 2.3 seconds. And then Ara Cooper collapsed, her young life extinguished in an instant. What Commander Vex failed to realize, what the entire Council failed to understand, was that humans never trusted us completely. Every room in Terranova Station, especially those occupied by their young, had independent security systems that transmitted directly to Earth. Systems the Council didn't know about. Systems that recorded a Council officer executing a 16-year-old girl for asking questions. Within hours, the footage was playing on every communication device across human space. Within a day, it had been translated into every Council language and spread throughout the galaxy. And humanity's response was coming. I was in the Central Archives when the footage reached the Council Capitol. I watched it in stunned silence along with my colleagues, many of whom had children of their own. Even among species with vastly different reproductive and child-rearing practices, the deliberate killing of young was taboo. They'll demand justice, whispered Length, My meridian assistant. His dorsal cilia were vibrating with distress. The council will offer compensation, I replied automatically. It was the standard response. When a member species suffered harm due to council action, reparations would be negotiated, payments would be made, and occasional symbolic punishments would be administered. Length's primary eyes swiveled toward me, while his secondary set remained fixed on the repeating footage. Do you really believe that will be enough? I didn't, but I said nothing. The official council response came 6 hours later. It described the incident as an unfortunate security operation resulting in accidental casualty. Commander Vex was placed on administrative leave pending review. The girl's parents would be compensated according to the standard metrics for loss of offspring. It was as if they were following a script that had worked 1,000 times before, with 1,000 different species. But humans weren't like the other species. Earth's ambassador to the Council, Maya Ortega, delivered humanity's response personally before the full assembly. I was present, recording as was my duty. I remember how she stood, ramrod straight, her dark eyes reflecting the chamber's lights like twin stars. "Honored counselors," she began, her voice unnervingly calm. "I come before you today not to negotiate, not to debate, not to engage in the usual diplomatic theater that passes for justice in these halls." The chamber, normally filled with the background murmur of hundreds of translator devices, fell silent. "I come to inform you that the sovereign nations of Earth have unanimously declared that the murder of Aura Cooper constitutes an act of war against humanity." Gasps and clicks of disbelief rippled through the assembly. "Furthermore, I am authorized to present our terms, the immediate and unconditional surrender of the Galactic Council to human authority." This time, the chamber erupted in chaos. High Counselor Zach, a Volucrian whose species had helped found the Council millennia ago, raised all 4 of his upper limbs for silence. "Ambassador Ortega," he said, when the noise had subsided, "surely you cannot be serious. While the incident was regrettable, to characterize it as an act of war is extreme, and your demands are simply impossible." Ambassador Ortega's expression didn't change. "The execution of a child for asking questions is not regrettable. High Counselor, it is monstrous. As for our demands being impossible," her lips curved in what approximated a smile, but conveyed no warmth, "I suggest you reconsider what is and isn't possible when dealing with humanity." "You have been members of the Council for barely 30 cycles," Zach replied, his voice betraying his irritation. "Your species controls a mere 12 star systems. The Council spans over 800. Your demands are not just impossible, they are irrational. Then you refuse our terms?" "I refuse to dignify them with further discussion. The Council has made its position clear. Compensation will be offered to the Cooper family. Commander Vex will face administrative review. The matter will be resolved according to Council protocol." Ambassador Ortega nodded once. "I understand. In that case, I am instructed to inform you that you have 15 Earth hours to reconsider before our terms become non-negotiable." She turned and walked out of the chamber without waiting for a dismissal, a shocking breach of protocol that left many counselors sputtering in outrage. I remember checking the time then. 15 Earth hours. It seemed such an arbitrary deadline. It was only later that I understood they had already calculated exactly how long it would take for their ships to arrive. The emergency session that followed Ambassador Ortega's departure lasted exactly 15 minutes. 15 minutes to decide the fate of a 12,000-cycle-old institution. 15 minutes that sealed the Council's doom. I was not in the chamber for that session. No record keepers were present. No records were to be kept. But I heard about it afterward, from a Jurkanian counselor who sought me out specifically. "They've decided to ignore the human ultimatum," he told me. His voice modulator pitched to its lowest setting to avoid being overheard. "They believe it's a bluff." "Is it?" I asked. The Jerkanian sensory filaments twisted in what might have been uncertainty. I do not know, but I voted against the majority. There is something about this situation that disturbs me deeply. The killing of the child? No. The human's reaction to it. He leaned closer. In all my years on the council, I have never seen a species respond to tragedy with such certainty. There was no grief in Ambassador Ortega's manner, no rage, only purpose. The 15 hours passed. The council capital continued its normal operations. Security was increased around the central chamber and key government facilities. But it was a token gesture. No one truly believed that humanity, with its limited fleet and relatively primitive technology, could pose a serious threat to the heart of the council's power. I was at my station in the archives when it happened. First, the lights flickered. Then the gravity wavered. Then every communication device, every data terminal, every security system across the entire planet simply stopped. For exactly 90 seconds, nothing worked. When the systems came back online, everything appeared normal, except for one critical difference. The Council no longer had control of its own infrastructure. A message appeared on every screen, in every language used across Council space. You had your chance. And then, the sky filled with ships. Thousands of them. Ships that hadn't existed 15 hours earlier. Ships that had somehow traversed hundreds of light years without using any known form of FTL travel. Ships that appeared simultaneously over every major Council world. Humanity had not been bluffing. They had simply been waiting. What followed was not a war in any conventional sense. There was no back and forth, no battles, no heroic last stands. It was a systematic dismantling of the most powerful government the galaxy had ever known. I witnessed it firsthand when a squad of human soldiers materialized directly inside the Central Archives. Supposedly impossible feat given our security measures. They didn't shoot. They didn't threaten. They simply took control, locking down all data and securing the facility with quiet efficiency. Their leader, a dark-skinned woman with silver implants visible at her temples, approached me directly. "Vox Thule?" she asked. I confirmed my identity, expecting to be arrested or worse. Instead, she said, "Your access codes, please. We need to ensure the historical records remain intact." "You're preserving the archives?" She looked almost offended. "Of course. Destroying history isn't our objective." Before I could respond, a commotion at the main entrance drew our attention. Commander Vex and a squad of Council security forces had arrived, weapons drawn. "Surrender immediately!" Vex shouted. "You are in violation of Council space." The human soldiers didn't react, didn't raise their weapons, didn't even seem concerned. The squad leader glanced at Vex, then back to me. "Is that him? The one who killed the Cooper girl?" I nodded, suddenly understanding what was about to happen. She sighed, almost regretfully. Then she made a small gesture with her right hand. Commander Vex's body went rigid. His weapon clattered to the floor. The security officers with him suffered the same fate, freezing in place as if turned to stone. "Neural implants," the human explained, seeing my confusion. "Installed in every Council citizen without their knowledge. Been there for years. We just never activated them before." As I watched in horror, Vex began to convulse. Blood trickled from his sensory orifices. 30 seconds later, he collapsed, dead. His security team followed, one by one. "Why?" I managed to ask. "Why not just arrest him?" The human's expression hardened. "Justice for Ara. He showed her no mercy. Why should we show him any?" That same scene was playing out across the Council capital. Key military and political leaders were dying simultaneously, their neural systems compromised by technology they never knew existed within their own bodies. Among them was Security Chief Draknar, who had authorized the operation against Era Cooper. High Counselor Zack and the remaining council leadership attempted to organize a response from the central chamber. They never got the chance. A human vessel, small but impossibly powerful, positioned itself directly above the council tower and fired a single shot. The structure that had stood for 12,000 cycles, that had been believed indestructible, collapsed in on itself like tissue paper in rain. The Galactic Council, the supreme authority in the known galaxy for millennia, fell in less than one Earth day. 2 weeks later, what remained of the Council's leadership signed an unconditional surrender on Earth's moon. I was there, not as a record keeper, but as a witness. The humans insisted on witnesses from every Council species. General Thomas Reeves, Earth's military commander, oversaw the ceremony. Unlike Ambassador Ortega, he made no attempt to hide his emotions. His contempt for the Council representatives was palpable. "Let the record show," he said, after the documents were signed, "that the former Galactic Council has acknowledged its crimes and ceded all authority to the Terran Provisional Government." High Counselor Zack, one of the few senior officials to survive, looked broken. His once proud posture was bent, his scales dull with stress and defeat. "May I ask," he said, his voice barely audible, "what happens now? Will humanity rule as the Council did?" General Reeves smiled. "It wasn't pleasant. No, we have no interest in becoming what we just destroyed." He activated a holographic display showing a new political structure, Galactic Confederation. Unlike the centralized council, it depicted a loose alliance of autonomous systems, with Earth as just one node among many. "The era of Central Galactic Authority is over," Reeves explained. "Each system will govern itself. Trade, cultural exchange, and mutual defense will be voluntary, not coerced." "That will lead to chaos," Zack protested. "Without the Council's guidance." "Without the Council's oppression," Reeves corrected sharply. "Yes, there will be some chaos. There will also be freedom, innovation, cultural exchange based on mutual respect rather than enforced conformity." He deactivated the display. "The Confederation is merely a framework. What you build within it is up to you." As the defeated Council representatives were escorted out, a human couple entered the chamber. I recognized them immediately from the news broadcasts that had flooded the galaxy. Marcus and Juliana Cooper, Era's parents. They didn't look like people consumed by grief or vengeance. They looked determined. "Mr. and Mrs. Cooper have a proposal," General Reeves announced. "I suggest you all listen carefully." Juliana Cooper stepped forward. Her resemblance to her daughter was striking, the same dark curls, the same intelligent eyes. "We are establishing the Historical Truth Commission," she said. "Its purpose will be to document what happened, not just to our daughter, but throughout Council history, to uncover the secrets that the Council kept, including whatever it was that Aura discovered." She looked directly at me. "We would like you, Record Keeper Thule, to join the Commission. Your knowledge of the archives will be invaluable." I was stunned. "You want my help? After what my people did to your daughter?" Marcus Cooper spoke for the first time. "You were the one Era reached out to. She must have sensed something in you. Integrity. Perhaps. We're offering you a chance to honor her trust." I accepted, of course. How could I not? It was only later that I learned the full extent of what Era Cooper had discovered, and why the Council had reacted with such fatal panic to her innocent questions. The Historical Truth Commission began its work immediately. With unlimited access to the Council archives and assisted by human AI systems that could process and cross-reference data at speeds I had never imagined possible, we quickly uncovered the truth that had been hidden for thousands of cycles. The vast network of instantaneous transport gateways that connected the galaxy technology the Council had claimed to have developed was actually the creation of a far older civilization. A civilization that had mysteriously vanished long before the Council formed. But the real shock came when Professor Amara Okafor, A human archaeologist working with the Commission deciphered the symbols embedded in the Gateway Network's core programming. They matched ancient human writing, Earth's earliest civilizations. Impossible, I remember saying when she presented her findings. Humans were confined to Earth until a few centuries ago. Professor Okapor's eyes sparkled with excitement. That's what we thought too. But the evidence is undeniable. Humans, or something very like us, built the Gateway Network tens of thousands of years ago. We weren't newcomers to galactic society. We were the architects of it. This was what Era Cooper had begun to discover in the background: radiation-embedded code that matched Earth languages. Code that the Council had hidden, fearing what would happen if humans ever realized their true heritage. But why did the Council hide this? I asked. Why not just tell humans about their connection to the Gateway builders? Power, Marcus Cooper said simply. If humans knew they had created the technology that the entire Council depended on, how long before they figured out how to control it? How long before the Council's technological advantage disappeared? He was right. Of course. The quantum backdoor that had allowed human ships to appear simultaneously across Council space. The ability to remotely access and control every piece of Council technology. The neural implants that no one had detected. All of it had been possible because the gateways and everything built using their principles had been human technology all along. Humanity hadn't developed new weapons to defeat the Council. They had simply remembered how to use what had always been theirs. 5 years have passed since these revelations. The galaxy is a very different place now. The Galactic Confederation has replaced the Council, just as General Reeves promised. Some worlds have thrived under self-governance. Others have struggled. A few have descended into conflict. It is messy, imperfect, and alive with possibility in a way the Council-controlled galaxy never was. The Gateway Network has been open to all species, its secrets shared freely. This has led to an explosion of travel, trade, and cultural exchange unlike anything in recorded history. It has also led to complications, as ancient rivalries and new ambitions play out across a suddenly much smaller galaxy. As for me, I continue my work with the Historical Truth Commission. We have published uncensored histories of the Council era, documenting both its achievements and its atrocities. Some call our work revisionist. I prefer to think of it as complete. I often think about Era Cooper, the bright, curious girl whose death changed everything. Her parents have established a foundation in her name, dedicated to protecting the rights of children across all species and encouraging the kind of curiosity that she embodied. The last time I saw them, at a commemoration ceremony on Terra Nova now, a center for multi-species scientific cooperation, they seemed at peace. Not happy, perhaps, but purposeful. They had transformed their grief into something constructive. She would have liked this, Juliana told me, gesturing at the diverse group of young beings from dozens of species working together in what had once been Ara's laboratory. She always wanted to understand everything, to connect with everyone. I believe she was right. And in a way, Ara did connect everyone through her death and what followed. There's a phrase I've heard humans use. The punishment should fit the crime. By that standard, was the Council's fall proportionate to the killing of one girl? Many would say no. Many have argued that humanity's response was excessive, disproportionate, vengeful. Perhaps it was. But I have come to understand that for humans, there is no proportionate response when it comes to their children. They do not calculate. They do not measure. When a child is harmed, something primal awakens in them, something older and more powerful than their vaunted rationality. The Council killed a human girl. In response, humanity didn't just retaliate. They erased the Council from existence, and they made sure the galaxy would never forget why. There is a new phrase now, whispered across 1,000 worlds in 100 languages. Never harm a human child. It isn't just a warning, it's a law of nature. one the galaxy has learned to obey.